Another nail in my coffin!
Ciao a tutti, sono il vostro amichevole zio Pete de Quartieri. This is my series, Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that un grande amicerio devono trovare anche grandi chiodi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you are new here, you can read what my Nails in a Coffin series is all about in the section down below, because these videos really aren't film reviews, rather a breakdown of the kills, and I rate how well the victim responded to their life-threatening situation. Continuing my venture into some giallo films, so far I've covered all the ones you see here, and you have their Nails in a Coffin average next to them. A Bay of Blood still leading the pack with the highest average, and Stage Fright bringing up the rear with only an average of 1.25 nails in a coffin, so a lot of stupid decisions in that one. I'll put a card up here for you to check out the playlist so you can check out all those videos. This week I'm covering a film from 1963, another one from a genre legend, often credited as actually the first giallo film. Mario Bava's The Girl Who Knew Too Much, also known as The Evil Eye. The first black and white movie I'm actually going to cover on Nails in a Coffin. If you are unfamiliar with this movie, the story revolves around a young American tourist visiting her aunt in Rome, and she witnesses a murder in the Piazza di Spagna. While everyone else is dismissing it as an hallucination or a dream, she's adamant that it actually happened, and she decides to investigate it herself. The first death occurs just about 12 minutes into the film. Nora Davis, a tourist from America, just arrived in Italy. She's an avid reader of crime novels, and on the flight, she's actually reading a giallo called The Knife. Nancy arrives at her aunt's house where she's going to be staying, and she's first introduced to Dr. Marcello Bassi, Nancy's dad. He's the attending doctor to Ethel, Nora's elderly bedridden aunt. After some introductions, Nora turns in for the night, and she's creeped out by a portrait of a man where the eyes seem to be following her, and the portrait is actually of director Mario Bava. Nora covers the portrait with the sheet, and she's ready to get into bed. Suddenly, she hears cries coming from Ethel's room. She rushes to her bedside where Ethel is having a hard time breathing. She's actually having a heart attack, but before Nora can actually give Ethel her medicine, Ethel passes away. Can't give Ethel a nail rating because she died from a heart attack, not an attack from an individual or an accident. After Nora's aunt dies, she tries to call for an ambulance, but the phone line is dead from the current storm. The sight of her dead aunt and the storm put Nora into a panic, and she runs to a nearby hospital to go find Dr. Bassi. On her way there, she's accosted by a mugger in the Piazza di Spagna, and the mugger is trying to wrestle Nora's purse away from her grasp, and during the struggle, he shoves her to the ground, and Nora is knocked unconscious. When Nora starts to regain consciousness, her vision is blurry, and she's trying to hold herself up on her feet. While she's doing this, she sees a woman a few yards away, stumbling towards her. Nora then sees that the woman has a knife in her back, and Nora can only look with a stunned expression as the victim falls to the ground dead. Nora, trying to make sense of what she just witnessed, she sees a man walk up to the woman's body. He looks around for a few moments and he removes a knife from her back. The shock of all this results in Nora fainting. We don't see the attack, but there aren't too many on-screen kills in this film, so I still feel I can give a nail rating. And I'm going to give her 2 nails in a coffin. We know she was stabbed in the back, but she did manage to walk away from her attacker to go try and find help. It had to be a painful experience till she actually succumbed to her injuries. So just going on her fight to stay alive alone, I feel that she does deserve at least these 2 nails in the coffin. The next morning, Nora is still unconscious on the ground. A passerby notices her and attempts to wake her, albeit a rather unorthodox manner by shaking her head, and this kind of made me chuckle because it's not the recommended approach for reviving such an unconscious person. The passerby then offers Nora a sip from his flask, but before long, a police officer happens upon the scene, and this causes the man to flee in fear, leaving the unconscious woman where she lays. The officer discovers Nora, who's starting to regain her consciousness. However, with the smell of alcohol in her breath, he assumes that she was just intoxicated. Nora is recovering in the hospital, and I guess you could call him a crime scene investigator. He talks to Nora about what she saw, but no one really believes her story, dismissing it as a result of too many mystery novels and just having a youthful imagination. Nora will eventually encounter Laura Tornani, a close friend of her aunt, who's leaving for vacation, and offers Nora the opportunity to stay in her home near the Piazza di Spagna. While settling in, the housekeeper unexpectedly enters, and Nora completes some paperwork for the police. She and the housekeeper have a nice chat, and this person reveals that Laura's sister was tragically murdered in front of the house about a decade ago. The revelation leads Nora to believe that her vision during the mugging on those same steps was that of the long past murder, a notion she finds difficult really to accept. After talking with the housekeeper, Nora continued to put some clothes away, and in the process of doing so, she comes across some clippings of articles on the alphabet killer, a serial killer whose victims have been alphabetically murdered according to their surnames. The killer has already murdered people with last names beginning with A, B, and C. The last victim was Laura's sister, Emily Craven, whom Nora had seen in a vision, she believes. Now, this murder took place over 10 years ago. Nora holds up a block with the letter D on it, and which kind of alludes Nora that she could be the next victim. Somebody's been messing with Nora, and her and Marcello are trying to figure out who's actually been doing this. They found a tape recording stating that she's seen too much, and her last name starts with the letter D. Also, when Nora goes to show Dr. Bassi the newspaper clipping that she found, they're suddenly missing. So Marcello dismisses the missing paper, saying that it was probably just a maid. Upon returning home one night, Nora and Marcello are shocked to see someone in her home. They approach this man who is Mr. Landini, the owner of the apartment where Nora found that tape recording from earlier. We learned that when the alphabet killings first started, he was interested in these killings, and he states that the killer really never left any clues as to what their identity was. So Mr. Landini decided to investigate these crimes as well, and his theory is that the killer was actually a sex maniac. We learned from Mr. Landini that he and Emily's fiancé, Charles Tarani, worked together to find this killer over a decade ago. The police were able to make an arrest, and the suspect they arrested was Stratineve, a local vagabond. It was Mr. Landini that tracked him down, leading to his apprehension. The man did confess, but then he recanted his confession in court. He was still found guilty and sent to a hospital for the criminally insane. A few days later, Nora goes to visit Mr. Landini's apartment to continue the discussion on this investigation. Landini told Nora that he was on to something, and there was no answer when she knocked on the door, but it's unlocked, so she lets herself in. She finds a message on a typewriter that reads like a confession to the murders. She also finds 4 letters, A, B, and C, for the first 3 kills, and the 4th, letter D, actually has a photo of her in it. A door slams shut out of nowhere, and Nora runs to the door, opens it. She's looking back and forth to see who could have slammed it. Wind blows, windows open, and this causes Nora to run back in her room to shut them. After she shuts them, she turns to see the body of Mr. Landini, dead from an apparent unaliving. He died off screen, and there's nothing I can really do for a nail rating, because when he was found, he was already dead, so not going to give Mr. Landini a nail rating. All the stress is too much for Nora, and she plans on going back to America with Marcello. While reading the paper, she sees a photo of a woman who was found in the river. The woman had been there for 2 weeks, and Nora recognizes the woman as the one she saw murdered when she first arrived in Rome. She goes to the morgue to ID the body found in the river, and it's the same woman, so she didn't really have a vision of the past. This is a relief for Nora, knowing that she's not crazy. Back at Laura's home, Nora is holding this button she took from the personal effects of the woman found in the river, something she remembers seeing before. She attempts to call Marcello on the phone, but she can't reach him, so she opens the door to the study, which has been locked up until now. Once inside the study, Nora slowly approaches another door. You can see light coming from under it. She gets to the door, tries to handle it, and it opens. Sitting in a chair in darkness is a man leaning forward. Nora, with the look of fear in her eyes, as the man stands up, she's about to scream right as the man falls to the floor, face down, revealing a large kitchen knife in his back. Nora is then confronted by returning Laura. She stabbed that man, her husband, because of his attempts to turn her over to the police. Laura explains to Nora why she killed all these women. It was her desire to steal her sister's money. Laura has a gun pointed at Nora, but right before she can shoot this American, her husband saves Nora by shooting Laura twice in the back through the door before he passes away himself. Laura earned herself one nail in the coffin. She fell into the same old trap of a lot of villains in horror movies do. They choose to give all this exposition to someone they plan on actually killing, which is just a waste of time. Laura also should have made sure her husband was dead instead of letting him hang on to life. This was the main reason she died at the end. If Laura made sure her husband was dead and she killed Nora right away, she probably would have gotten away with all this. So it looks like her ego, again typical in horror movies, was the main cause of this villain's death. And on Nails in a Coffin, that will always get you one nail in the coffin. Professor Tarani, Laura's husband, is awarded 2.5 nails in a coffin. Like the other kill in this movie, we don't actually see the actual attack. Both victims had dropped right in front of Nora, but he held on as well, long enough to actually save Nora. And I'm going to give him a little bit of a higher nail rating because he did so. He didn't die right away. He held on as long as he could, even fatally shooting his wife through the door to save Nora. Based slowly on his struggle to survive and saving Nora, hanging on, fighting for life, I feel that he merits these 2.5 nails in the coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all mine. Nails in the coffin for The Evil Eye, also known as The Girl Who Knew Too Much. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. The average nails in a coffin is 1.83 nails, which is a bit high, but there weren't too many kills in this film. All except one. Most of the kills were off screen, so I had to make some adjustments, but I do feel that these rankings were pretty accurate for their victims. Here's the average nails in a coffin for all 10 giallo movies I've covered so far. I'll see you back here in 2 weeks when I do my Golden Nail Awards, where I'll go a little bit more into depth with the movie with the highest average and the movie with the lowest average. Give a little bit more reasoning to why those averages fell into the places where they did. And with my Golden Nail Awards, you'll also get my favorite 1, 2, 3 nail kills for all those appropriate ones. That should be a lot of fun as well. And I'm going to rank these films. I like this film a lot. I thought it was beautifully shot. I like the story and the mystery in it. Tissia Roman was wonderful as Nora, absolutely gorgeous. She commanded the screen, almost making John Saxon feel like a minor role, but I think he did great as well. So, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. All the usual stuff. I see you back here in 2 weeks for my Golden Nail Awards, and I hope you guys are all doing well. So, until then, take care, stay safe, be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. Remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.